There's been a counter-revolution in this country, a political counter-revolution in this country, had its seeds during the Wilsonian period, but really took off during the FDR period. And that's what we're having to deal with now. Many people accept what the statist is doing. There's no question about it. But you must understand, the statist controls the government. He controls the judiciary for the most part. He controls the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy doesn't exist to advance free enterprise. It exists to regulate it, tax it, and smother it. The judiciary doesn't appear to exist to advance the cause of citizenship and the civil society. Instead, it looks out for the terrorist and the criminal and the statist, for the most part. Our schools, particularly colleges and universities, this is where the counter-revolution is bred, quietly, but purposefully and daily. This is where the malcontents are given birth. When you send your child to a college or university, these are the places where in many cases their thinking is molded against our traditions and values. When you look at the media is the voice of the statist, not the government per se. It will print things against the government, particularly national security secrets, but it advances the cause of the statist. Never free enterprise, never the individual, never a strong defense. Am I right? Always the socialist agenda, the big government agenda, the environmental agenda. Never the founding principles. Never. And then there's Hollywood. People who make believe their entire lives, who want to find relevancy. And so they pretend that they're revolutionaries in a society that confers fame and fortune on them. It's bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. And yet, this is the psychosis that exists in Hollywood, for the most part. Hollywood, which has become a fraternity of malcontents. As they drive around in their luxury automobiles and live in their large estates, condemning the use of energy, the use of natural resources, condemning those who live less well than they. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We are on the right side of history, but we must stand up. We must stand up. But I'm telling you, if we don't understand our history, if we don't understand the philosophy behind our principles, if we don't understand how the status has taken this country in the wrong direction for so many decades, we cannot win this fight. I don't assume to have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. But what I do have is a firm grasp on conservatism and the conservative movement, which I grew up in, by my own choice, at a very young age. And when I heard the Republican primary and people who are obviously very liberal Republicans or mush Republicans claiming to be conservatives and people getting confused and the arguments being cluttered, and then other people throwing in from the New York Times editorial page or from various blog sites claiming to want to reform conservative, I said, you know what, it's time to deal with this. Every few decades, somebody organizes thoughts and research and arguments behind the conservative cause. Buckley did it in the 50s. Goldwater did it in the 60s. Reagan did it in the late 70s and 80s. Limbaugh has done it. But in terms of the depth, in terms of the fulsome of the understanding of who we are and where we need to go, I felt it was time to explain it in a way that's both understandable but requires thinking and digesting and understanding and commitment so that this information is passed on to your children and your grandchildren so that you can stand up in any environment and dress down, politely or impolitely, depending on the circumstance, those who seek to destroy this country willfully or unwittingly. And that's what we'll be talking about a lot in the days ahead. And that explains liberty and tyranny. We, ladies and gentlemen, stand for liberty. The others, whether they know it or not, stand for some form of tyranny.